morning, participants. Welcome to the virtual session 4A on teacher systems and policies for disadvantaged groups. I'm Aarti Seheji, and I'm very privileged to be the moderator of this panel. Let me introduce our distinguished speakers. We are with Ms. Wei Wang from the Department of Teacher Education, Ministry of Education, China. We are with Mr. Dexter Pante, Department of Education, Philippines. And we are also with Ms. Sana Haninan and Ms. Marjo Vesalinen from the Ministry of Education and Culture, Finland. Welcome, everybody. The Q&A session will begin after the discussion. All online conference participants are invited to send their questions via the Q&A chat box on the conference website. Let's start with the first presentation, and it is my absolute honor to invite Ms. Marjo Vesalinen and Ms. Sana Haninen from the Ministry of Education and Culture, Finland. I think that, Finland is one of those countries which everybody wants to aspire to when it comes to education. And we would really love to hear from you. What do you do so differently in terms of how you train your teachers that you get such amazing results for the children? Over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, warm greetings from Finland. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this conference on equitable education. I and my colleague Sanna Vahtivuori-Hänninen are very happy to be able to share some issues on the Finnish education policy, Finnish teacher education system, and lessons we have learned in Finland when developing our system. So here are some characteristics of Finnish education system. They lay also a foundation for different aspects of our teacher education. The Finnish education system is based on equality, justice, and equity. In Finland, we believe that equal opportunities for individuals to improve their knowledge are the foundation of high-quality education. We believe that excellence comes through equity and well-being. Our education system is committed to values of inclusion. Every learner has the right for special support once the need arises. And we see that early intervention and support are very important. We have adopted the so-called three-tiered support system that includes the support levels from general to intensified and to special support. Our system emphasizes all teachers' responsibility to deliver support within the regular educational setting. The aim is to secure additional help for every student and to make general education more inclusive. Finnish teachers are well educated and hold master's degree in education or sciences, except early childhood education and care teachers who hold bachelor's degree. Master's degree means in our context 5 years full-time studies. And then we have no national examinations, no standardized testing. In compulsory education, so no school inspections also at any level. And these can be seen as signs of trust towards teachers and their capacities to make decisions, develop their work, and assess their students. In Finland, we have delegated a lot of decision-making and responsibilities to the local levels, to schools and even for teachers. As a consequence of the educational equity policy, also low-achieving students are performing quite well on PISA tests. So we have a national curricula which crystallized the vision of education in Finland. These are actually the only norm we have in Finnish education system. The core curricula define the national goals and general context of learning. We have a core curriculum for early childhood education and care, as well as for basic education and for upper secondary education. For example, according to the core curriculum for basic education, the aim is to enhance joy and meaningfulness of learning and the active role of students, to support the identity development and well-being of every student, to promote inclusive education, and so forth. We have we emphasize some aspects that have been considered as strengths of the Finnish teacher education. One thing is that teacher is an academic profession. And then teacher education attracts excellent students, and study programs can choose the best candidates. Teacher education is still one of the most attractive programs at the various Finnish universities. Universities in Finland have a high degree of autonomy in designing their curricula. As a result, there is no detailed curriculum of teacher education for all universities. However, there are certain principles and general outlines followed by all institutions of teacher education. Some of those outlines are stated in legislation. All teacher education involves educational sciences, pedagogical studies, and guided teaching practice. Currently, teacher education in Finland is based on the idea of autonomous and professional teacher who continues to develop throughout his or her working life. The goal of teacher education is to produce pedagogically thinking teachers who can combine research findings about teaching with profession's practical challenges. And then, of course, continuous professional development is seen important, and it is supported in Finland also by the ministry. In Finland, teachers and principals participate actively in in-service education. So what are the strengths of Finnish teachers? Here are some aspects, and I have mentioned already some of these earlier. So teacher profession is regulated, and the qualifications required from teachers are defined in legislation. Teachers in Finland have lots of autonomy. They are respected and trusted. Changing of profession is quite rare, and teaching profession is popular in Finland. National curricula guide teachers in making pedagogical decisions and ensure the equality of the students across the nation. Teachers have also time for designing teaching, studying, learning process because minimum teaching time in Finland is one of the lowest in OECD countries. And the amount of administrative work is also considerably low. I'm happy to say that in Finland, people still place a great value and respect on education. Public debate about education policy has always been strong in Finland. We try to keep this spirit of open discussion alive as much as possible. This is a very important source of information for us too. Here are some strengths of the Finnish education policy. We have long-term systematic and inclusive education policy. Equality and equity are seen very important. Policy planning relies on evidence and foresight. So we collect data, and the data is utilized for the basis of decision making. The Finnish system relies much on culture of trust. In Finland, all education reforms are conducted in broad collaboration with all stakeholders. Municipalities and schools have significant autonomy to organize schooling, including decisions on quality management. And we have put resources to early years and inclusive education approach. There is a strong continuum between all levels of education, and we are strengthening this continuum even further. For example, the curriculum for the general upper secondary education has recently been updated with closer linkages to tertiary level. Teachers' work and the world keep changing. This is why lifelong and continuous learning is becoming more important than ever. Teachers' professional learning is supported by government, municipalities, and the school leaders. We will still develop our lifelong learning system. Even though teachers' work and teacher education are highly appreciated in Finland, there is a need to develop the teacher education constantly. My colleague Sanna will continue from that theme now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my very great privilege to address you on this most special conference and parallel session focusing on teacher training and development. As my colleague Mario already mentioned to you, teacher education is high of quality and attractive. We can be very proud of this. However, all these rapid changes in the society and world have presented the competent teachers and teacher training with new challenges. We are yet reforming the teacher education once again. This current reform is designed through collaborative strategy work. The aim is to foster renewal of our teacher education. Ministry of Culture and Education and Culture have appointed the Teacher Education Forum to reform the basic, introductory, and continuing training of teachers. The design of our new teacher education development program is based on latest research on learning as well as the other strategies in the Europe and the global framework. The program outlines the objectives and measures that ensure that Finnish education will remain strong, teacher education will remain strong, attractive, and appreciated. Valuing the teacher education and teachers, as well as the teacher's identity that creates new outcomes, are important for the future of the world. The goals of our teacher education program are that teachers have in-depth knowledge in their own field, pedagogical aptitude and knowledge of values. Teachers have courage to develop and experiment with new things. That is very important. They have the ability to apply new teaching innovations and skills to change on their own actions. Teachers are future-oriented and broad-based experts who create new pedagogical innovations and diversely utilize new learning environments and learning spaces. Teachers should use the latest research and evaluations in developing themselves, their working community, and the educational institution. When we talk about the TALIS results, International Teacher Survey results, we have noticed that team teaching and working together and collaborating, these are the most important things for the future. OECD has recommends us to engage all the stakeholders when we are developing national strategies, when we are governing education in the complex world. So when we have been developing and creating guidelines for the future teacher education, we have been taking into account these OECD's Burns and Koster ideas. And what we have learned, what is the most important, that we are working together when we want to create the best education in the world. Implementation is also very important. It's not enough that we have strategic guidelines, but we also need resources. And the Ministry of Education and Culture has awarded nearly 27 million in grants for the collaborative network projects for the universities, 11 universities and 5 universities of applied sciences. And these universities are working together with student unions, with schools, with municipalities, and they have created these very practical and concrete projects. If I may say a few examples about special need education, we have Supporting Together program, when multidisciplinary and digital cooperation to support learning. This project has developed the contents of education for special needs education, for special education teachers, in particular collaboration between different universities, networks of experts and schools. And the focus has been on how to develop team teaching and pedagogical consultations in special need teachers, strengths-based education. Then we have also developed vocational teacher education. We have strengthened inclusion and human rights approach. And the best way to prevent exclusion among young people is to nurture educational equality and offer everyone the experience of being included. Also, we have been developing contents for teacher education related to gender equality planning and equality work. This nationwide project SetStop have produced and test educational materials and tools that can be used to integrate the themes of gender equality, non-discrimination, and alleviating segregation into the curricula of Finnish teacher education. Then we have used this research-based strengthening of competencies related to demanding special needs support in teacher education and also continuous education. At the moment, we have new government program called Right to Learn. And part of this huge nationwide program, we are going to strengthen the quality and equality from early childhood education and care and comprehensive school education by reducing and preventing learning differences and by strengthening support for learning. And especially after the COVID-19 crisis, we have put a lot of resources and helped municipalities to support the schools and teachers and principals. And we are implementing this program between 2020 and 2022. So it has just started, and one part of this program is this special need education and implementing this law from year 2011. So what have we learned here in Finland when we have been developing teacher education? It's crucial that we have this systematic inclusive approach that is really needed. Also, our system, which is based on different autonomous actors, has shown to be very powerful. So we have, even if we have common goals and common aims, we can have multiple solutions to reach the goal, because our municipalities in Lapland are different than in very sparsely populated areas in Helsinki area. Sustainable resources, local coordination, principals have lots of decision power and municipalities, and also professional learning to support, implement and change. So teachers really need support. The COVID-19 crisis has further increased the awareness of importance of competent, future-oriented and broad-based expert teachers in supporting learners with diverse backgrounds and abilities. How about the future challenges? If I may conclude, the future challenges and rapid changes in the society have really presented new challenges to the teacher education. Bringing research and evidence-based thinking to define aims and goals and solve problems and find answers This is very important. Also, we need to enhance collaboration, communal modes of working and studying, creating networks and collaborative communities if we want to create change, if we want to implement change. Teachers and teacher education networks and collaboration can create new outcomes, and these are important for the future. Teachers and high-quality teacher education are the core of education system. Now I'm coming to the end of my speech. Dear participants, as I've told you, we have talented teachers and high-quality research-based teacher education, and knowledge acquired during pre-service teacher education is not enough to last throughout teachers' career as their work and world keeps changing. And that's why teachers' own willingness and opportunities for working together, networking, and continuous personal developments and learning are the key for the better future and future better learning results. We are with Mario very grateful that we have had this wonderful opportunity to share some issues of our experience and Finnish education policy and lessons what we have learned in Finland when developing our system. Allow us to thank you all for inviting us to this Equitable Education Conference 2020. We are sure that you will agree that this will be the most successful, inspiring, and innovative virtual conference. And let us conclude by warm thanks to you and the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vasilinen and Ms. Sanna Hanninen. Mr. Dexter, I would like to give the floor to you for your presentation. Please go ahead.
Good day, everyone. Before I begin, I would just like to thank the organizers for inviting the Philippines to participate in this conference. What I'm going to talk to you for this afternoon is a policy in providing incentives to teachers so that they remain in hardship post or remote locations. So the topic that I shall discuss today is the School Hardship Index, which is a measurement for assessing the hardship of a certain school. Before I begin, I also like to acknowledge the support of UNICEF in supporting us conduct the study. So what is the Special Hardship Allowance? As provided in our law, Republic Act 4670 of 1966, it is an additional compensation that we provide to our teachers who are exposed to difficulty in commuting to the place of work or experiencing other hazards peculiar to the place of employment. As a policy objective, the policy objective of this provision is to encourage experienced teachers to remain in hardship posts. As you know, in our location, only new teachers are assigned in hardship posts. After getting 2 or 3 years of experience, they request to be transferred back to the urban or accessible schools. And usually, learners in hardship posts would include indigenous people, children from poor families, those exposed to conflict and other hazards, and children living in very remote communities. So this special hardship allowance is really a strategy to improve equity allocation of experienced teachers, which is very limited resource in our country. So those who are eligible for the hardship allowance include teachers assigned in hardship posts, teaching multi-grade classes, and those teaching in alternative learning system classes. The alternative learning system is our non-formal based education, and the clients here are youth and adults who have not completed their basic education. So just to show you some pictures of the dangers and difficulties teachers have to experience when traveling from their home location to the school location. So this one is located in northern Philippines. They have to cross rivers and mountains. This one is an upland school, mountainous school. So the road there is also not concrete, and the classroom is not a concrete structure as well. Also in northern Philippines, in some area you have to cross rivers and lakes just to reach school. This one in central Philippines in Occidental Mindoro. The first picture shows improvised cable car. This is this is made by the community so that they could reach the teachers could reach schools located in a mountain area. Again, the road is not it's not concrete, so teachers have to walk from home to school and cross rivers. This one in southern Philippines, in Sarangani. Again, these are all pictures of teachers that we collected when we did consultation and focus group discussion with them. So they were consulted when we were conducting the study together with the UNICEF. So according to the National Budget Circular 514, hardship posts are characterized by transport inaccessibility. So depending on distance, the policy provide a graduated rate of 15 to 15, 20, and 25%. So the distance is computed from the school to the nearest point where there is available regular motorized land water transportation. And other factors would include difficult situations such as calamity, hazard to life, or inconvenience of travel. Take note that this section is very subjective in terms of the implementation. When we consulted our superintendents and implementers, they had difficulty identifying the point of available regular motorized land or water transport. And that becomes a persistent issue when we implemented the policy. So these are other type of learners, other type of eligibles. So it also a graduated rate for multi-grade and alternative learning system. So how do we compute, according to our policy, the special hardship allowance? So you start with the basic teacher salary computed by the rate and then multiplied by the number of days attended by the teacher. So in front of you, an example of how to compute the special hardship allowance. And in a given month, if the teacher attended all her classes, the teacher is entitled to around $90 as additional compensation for teaching in hardship post. So part of our practice of developing policy in our country, we make it sure that teachers are consulted on matters that are affecting them, especially this one because it really affects the working condition of our teachers. So we made sure that we did a survey to determine what are the factors affecting their hardships. So as you can see in that graph, the top 3 factors they see to it as affecting hardship are distance, cost of transportation, and hazard or conflict. During the focus group discussion, teachers expressed the following concerns, like they said that the scaled rate in the national budget circular is not consistent with the law. As mentioned earlier, the law provides at least 25%, but in our national budget circular, it provided 15, 20, and 25. So hardship post is also predominantly measured in terms of distance. So that's what teachers mention. And the rate depends on the teacher level rather than distance, meaning those teachers with levels 2, 3, or 4 have higher rate. And then all teachers receiving the same amount regardless of base salary. So this means that the division offices try to divide equally the allowance so that everyone gets the special hardship allowance. And incorrect calculation with mismatches between distance and percentage rate. In terms of procedural issues, even non-teaching staff receive it, which is a clear violation of our law. There's a heavy workload for division offices to build and maintain the worksheet. That affects the reporting. And because of lack of reporting, our budget have been kept at the same amount for the past 3 years. And there's also unclear understanding on whether official travels are included in the computation, because teachers travel often for training, reporting to the division offices, and it's unclear whether official travels are included in the computation. So given all these issues, it appears that the policy objective of the hardship allowance is not being attained because of poor targeting. Those who are entitled are not receiving it. And then second is those who receive it don't find it enough to compensate the hardship, and therefore the policy objective of keeping experienced teachers in hardship posts is not being attained. So from our study together with UNICEF, we decided to develop an index that will measure hardship of schools, and which also will be the basis for identifying eligible schools for the hardship allowance. So what is an index? Any number from 0 to 1 representing degree of hardship. And then it combines all aspects as identified in hardship factors. And the closer the value of the index score to 1, the higher the degree of difficulty. So we did a regression analysis, and our dependent variable in the study is the proportion of experienced teachers in a given school. So we define experienced teachers as those teachers level 2 and above. And our independent variable are the following: travel cost to the division office, travel time, poverty incidence of a given municipality, violent acts reported in the school. It may include robbery, theft, violence, physical violence, access to electricity, whether there is an electricity or not, access to water, internet access, and temporary learning spaces. So from our regression analysis, we came up with the coefficient, and we standardized the value of the coefficient so that we'll be able to get the weights of the different variable. So on the last column shows the weights for each variable. These are now the hardship factors in our index with their corresponding weights. No? Notice that travel cost to the division office and travel time, combining these two, already explains 50% of the entire pie. Meaning this is consistent with our online survey, wherein teachers rank the distance as the most highest factor in hardship. But there are also other factors as well in our index. So this means that given two schools with the same travel cost and travel time, the one with a high poverty incidence would get a higher index score, meaning that school is located in a more hardship location. So using the formula, we were able to get the hardship score of all schools. And this is now plotted in a histogram. The question is, which cutoff should be used in determining eligible for special hardship allowance? During that time, we don't have any criteria. Our criteria was to maximize the budget, which is around 42 million US dollar or 2.1 billion US peso. And the cutoff that provides us the best or optimal allocation is 0.37, And we use that for computing our proposal for the hardship allowance. So given the importance of the hardship index, uh, we found out that it is good to adopt it because it is an objective way of identifying hardship posts. Unlike before, the process was delegated to certain offices. And then we are proposing that the process would also reduce the process of availment, and hopefully, yes, thank you for the reminder. It will be a real-time release of the special hardship allowance. So one of the risks of using the hardship index would be the negative reaction of those schools or teachers that will be excluded. From the illustration on the front of you, you can see that there are schools that have been excluded, but also similar to the schools that are retained and new. Probably these schools are those along the cutoff score. They have the same. They're too close to the cutoff score, but due to the use of cutoff, certain schools have been excluded. So the potential risk in using this index would be the unintended negative behaviors of our teachers, like intentionally reporting inaccurate data, collusion to falsify attendance record of teachers, or simple intentional neglect of school facilities, or refusal to install facilities like water, electricity, and temporary learning spaces. So these are the mitigation measures that we think are important in addressing those risks, like conduct of massive orientation and advocacy, especially for those who will be excluded, ensuring timely and correct reporting of data, and then the need to have data quality audit to ensure that correct data are being captured. So these are the future plans. No, currently we're using this for the hardship allowance, but we want to include it also in the computation of school MOE, the school operating budget, so that additional budget are also provided to the schools, not only to teachers. Link it with our HRIS data, and to do an evaluation if indeed the hardship index, using the hardship index, really retains experienced teachers in hardship posts. So that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Derek, for a very interesting presentation. I think it's an excellent example of how you use evidence to inform policy. If I may ask you a very quick follow-up question, since when is the hardship index being implemented in the Philippines?
We started the study in 2016, and we finished the development of the index in 2018. So the policy proposal is already with the Department of Budget and Management. We are at the last stage of negotiation with them. Once they approve it, hopefully we will implement it this year. So part of our efforts also together with UNICEF is to establish baseline data for those who will be identified as eligible for the hardship allowance. So to answer directly the question, it is to be implemented this year.
So thank you very much, and good luck with the implementation. I'm sure a lot of the different countries can definitely learn from this experience in the region. Thank you once again. I would like to invite Ms. Wei Wang to present. The floor is yours, Madame.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm Wang Wei from the Department of Teacher Affairs, MOE, China. It's my great honor to be invited to the conference. China has a long history of respecting teachers and valuing education. Teacher plays an important role in cultural heritage and innovation. Nowadays, China attaches greater importance on the construction of teachers. President Xi Jinping chaired over big issues on education, highly praised the significance of teachers. Premier Li Keqiang delivered in the 2020 report on the work of the government, we will develop more equitable and high-quality education, strengthen the ranks of teachers. There are more than 530,000 schools, including kindergartens, 282 million students, including children in kindergartens, and more than 17.32 million teachers in China. It has reached a high degree of consensus that constructing high-quality, professional, and innovative teachers is an important guarantee to improve the equity and quality of education. In recent years, we focused on rural teacher training and support in the Middle and Western China to prove equity-based basic education. I will share policy and practice in the following 5 parts. The first part is about in-service teacher training. In China, every teacher should finish 360 study hours training every 5 years. It is one of the prerequisites for register of teachers' qualification certificates. National Teacher Training Program kicked off in 2010. Rural teachers in the Middle and Western China are the key of the program. Since 2015, the program focused on teacher training in contiguous poverty stricken areas and state-level poor counties. By the end of 2019, the central government has invested over RMB 70 billion, about 2.4 billion US dollars, and the program covered over 15 million teachers. 5 aspects will be mentioned and illustrated in this part. The first aspect is rural teacher supporting system. In rural areas, the conflict between working and learning is a big challenge. At the same time, the capacity development of teachers, especially young teachers in rural areas, are still in high needs. We try to construct teacher support system, which includes county-level teacher trainer training, sending trainers to countryside routinely, online teacher workshops, including backbone and rural teachers, etc. The second aspect is we have issued a series of guides for rural teachers and principals since 2016 to address the rural teachers' needs and improve the efficiency of training. For example, Rural Teacher Training Guide in 2016, Rural Principal Training Guide in 2017. In this year, we issued National Teacher Training Program Guide, which includes training guide of novice teacher training, training guide of a young teacher, training guide of backbone teachers, according to professional development stage of teachers. The third aspect is experts investigation and seminars. National Teacher Training Expert Group is responsible for designing and on-the-site guidance of teacher training program every year. The experts investigate rural teachers and guide the implementation of training programs. A national seminar will be held to discuss the effect, the challenge, and the countermeasures among experts, educational officials, and teacher trainers. The fourth aspect is about focused training and support in key areas. For example, in 2017, key normal universities such as Beijing Normal University, Eastern China Normal University were selected to train and support rural teachers in 3 areas and 3 prefectures in China. These areas and prefectures are very critical in winning the battle against poverty in China. The fifth aspect of in-service teacher training on rural teachers is monitor and assessment. Anonymous assessment is widely applied in National Teacher Training Program. We choose teachers at random after training and send them questionnaires. The teacher's feedback will be used for improvement of training programs next year. This is the first part, in-service teacher training. Next one is the second part, pre-service teacher training. There are 196 normal universities and colleges and 489 comprehensive universities and colleges with teacher education major, which means that 1/4 of higher education institutions in China are involved in teacher education. The above universities and colleges are responsible for in-service teacher education as well as pre-service teacher education nationwide. I will take an example in rural teacher training. The example is government-aided normal education program. In 2007, the State Council launched the program in 6 normal universities affiliated to MOE. The students in the program are exempt from tuition fees and accommodation fees and receive subsidies for living expenses every month. The graduates become teachers and promise to teach at least 6 years. Over 90% go to the middle and western regions of China. At the same time, there are 28 provinces carrying out local programs. Over 40,000 normal university graduates become teachers in villages every year. I will take Chongqing municipality as an example of local program. The program started in 2013. 5 normal universities and colleges in Chongqing involved in preparing 1,500 new teachers annually for rural schools. The courses address the needs of rural schools where one teacher teaches 2 to 3 subjects. Therefore, the normal student majors in Chinese or math has to master the expertise of music, PE, art, or information technology. The courses integrate content of left behind children's psychological guidance, village educational resource development, etc. And the students have close contact with rural schools, observing and practicing teaching there during the 4-year study. So after graduation, the graduates adapt themselves to teaching very, very quickly. This is the second part on pre-service teacher training. The third part is teacher recruitment and deployment. We have comprehensive measures on this part. I will take 2 examples. The first example is about teacher rotation. We advanced teacher and principal rotation for compulsory schools in 2014. The teachers within the county has to rotate to another school after working in the same school for consecutive years. The key point is to advance excellent teachers and backbone teachers to rural and poorly run schools. Some measures are taken to motivate teachers. For example, the teacher who want to apply for high rank has to have 1 year teaching experience in rural schools. The salary allocation is inclined to teachers who take part in rotation. The second example is special teaching post for rural compulsory school program. This program started in 2006, which recruits graduates in universities and colleges to teach in rural compulsory schools. The service period is 3 years. After that, the teacher in the program can continue teaching there. In fact, 90% of the teachers on average stay teaching after 3 years service period. The central government is responsible for 3 years salary. By now, the central government has invested RMB 71 billion, equals to about 10 billion US dollars, recruit 950,000 teachers covering over 30,000 rural schools in more than 1,000 counties. This is the third part. The fourth part is teacher's salary. This is most of the teachers are very concerned about. Teacher law requires in China that teacher's salary is no less than that of civil servants. The teacher and others working in the village will receive at least RMB 200 subsidies, and these subsidies are in kind to hard and remote areas. We initiated rural teacher living subsidy in 2013, which aimed at teachers in contiguous poverty-stricken areas. This is a comprehensive incentive and subsidy policy, which means that the province is responsible for the implementation of the subsidy, and the central government will reward and allocate the money accordingly. By April 2020, the central government has invested RMB 24.1 billion, equals to 3.4 billion US dollars, and about 1.3 million rural teachers in over 80,000 rural schools have received this subsidy. The last part is about AI-assisted teacher development initiatives. International Conference on Artificial Intelligence and Education was held in Beijing, China on May the 16th to 8th last year. AI-assisted teacher development initiatives is now in progress in China. We mainly carry out 4 actions. First, encourage teachers to use intelligent assistant, explore innovative education and teaching methods. Second, carry future teacher training program to innovate teacher training environment responding to challenges brought by AI. Third, assist teachers in poverty-stricken areas through intelligent measures, share excellent educational resources. Last but not least, explore the development and application of big data, support policymaking, and optimize teacher development. For example, Ningxia Normal University is now hand in hand with Central Normal University. The latter is a key university in China to train teachers language skills with AI micro classroom. AI classroom is set up in Ningxia Hui Autonomous Region, here China, to explore double teacher teaching with AI virtual teacher and local teacher together. And besides, I will introduce some measures taken during COVID-19 pandemic. The first is to provide guidance and resources to teachers on online education. For example, we released a series of strategies for online teaching, homeschool cooperation, psychological counseling, released more than 10,000 hours of teacher training resources packages of 24 units. The second is to ensure the rights of education for all students. The progress in information infrastructure in China lays solid foundation for supporting large-scale, online education. During the pandemic, the government makes national platforms and local resources, television and internet resources, access to every child, especially to ensure the learning needs of students in rural areas. The third is to guide local governments to release measures adapt to local conditions. For example, each province could decide the dates of school reopening on its own. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Weibang, for the presentation. And I wanted to take this opportunity to thank all the presenters, our distinguished speakers, for sharing their fascinating experiences and valuable knowledge with us today. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to open the floor for Q&A. Thank you.